Hello, this is Christy from myscrapbookevolution.com, and I'm here to share with you a DIY rustic style mandala tray perfect for any coffee table. This project is part of the January craft collaboration between myself and Bear Born. Let's take a look at her project before we start my tutorial.
Hi, my name is Bear Born and I am really happy to be here with Christy to show you some organizing ideas. In my video I will show you a tutorial how to make a quick briefcase for your filing cards. I hope you come by and enjoy. See ya!
Let's get started with my project. Most people, I believe, are pretty familiar with paper mache, so that's not going to be my main focus today. The main thing I want to focus on for you is how to create that mandala design on your tray. Let's get started. So the project I'm making is rather large and it was a little difficult to film, so I have a few slides for you. This first one is the box that I begin with. It is a rather large box that my husband had for his mouse. He has a rather large gaming mouse pad. So what I did was to cut the lid off, and you can see it's kind of rough shape, and I tried to cut away the foam and some of the tabs. I'm going to use this to reinforce the box for the tray portion. So here you see that I have cut away portions of the lid and I have fit it down into the main base bottom for the box, and I've adhered it with a strong adhesive. This is just going to reinforce the tray. And the tray is mostly decorative. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for carrying food or serving. This is going to be a decorative tray for your coffee table. There are a lot of formulas for creating your own paper mache. I used a traditional flour and water mix to create a paste. I don't have any set recipe that I use. I just kind of eyeball the mixture until I get it a consistency that I like. I also like to cut my newspaper into nice even strips. I just feel like it's easier for me to work with. You're going to want to add a couple of layers of the newspaper with the paste mixture to the box, and you're going to need to do it in stages. That way it's not sticking down to your table or work surface. You can dip the newspaper into the bowl with the flour and water paste mixture, or you can use a paintbrush like I did to apply it to the box. Once the box is dry, you can start painting. And I used my own color mixture. I started off with the dark navy and decided I wanted it lighter, so I added a little bit of white to the paint. This is fine, but if you don't make enough, you may have some inconsistencies in color as you remix more paint. If you want a more consistent color, you may want to go to the store and choose acrylic paint in the color that you want. And you're just going to paint the box all over the place to provide full, even coverage. Now we get to the fun part, the creating of the mandala. I looked online on Pinterest and got a few ideas for how I wanted to create the mandala, but I still felt a little intimidated. So I decided to start off using a stencil. This is one of my favorite stencils from Stencil Girl Designs, and I chose to use a couple of different paint pens. One is by Posca and the other is by Mandala. And they're essentially just acrylic paint markers. The Posca has a finer tip, which is what I'm using here, and the Mandala that I have has a thicker tip, and it's good for filling in larger areas. Depending on the color of paint that you have, you may need to go over this a couple of times to get a nice even coating of the paint. After letting the design dry, and this is where you have to exercise a little patience, in between sections of working on the mandala, you need to let that paint dry a little bit. And then you can come back in with more design. You can see here that I'm using just a portion of this larger stencil. Just because you have a stencil doesn't mean you have to use the full stencil. Just use the parts that work for you. I got more inspiration from Pinterest for basic mandala designs, and I decided I wanted to freehand portions of the design to really make it my own. And you can see that I've started to do that here. You can also see that I am rotating the tray as I work, and this reduces the chance that I'm going to smudge the design as I'm working. The Posca paint pen dries relatively quickly, and it generally is very vibrant and shows up very well on dark colors like the blue, so you may not have to go over it a second time. The Mandala marker is a little bit thinner and it's not as vibrant a white, and you may have to cover over that a little bit. I had to go back in with a paintbrush and white acrylic paint and kind of give that one a second coat. After removing my cat from the table and letting the first part dry, I continued on with my design. And again, looking at Pinterest for inspiration, I just started with simple lines and shapes. Your mandala does not have to be complex. You can see that I'm just connecting sections of the pre-made stencil design and then making little lines and dots within them. You can also add little loops, fill those in, and just keep going around. You'll come to a point in which you realize that you're probably done with the design, and that's a good thing. You'll kind of just have a feeling that I like where this is and I need to stop. Once the center design is dry, you can start working on the outer corners of your tray. This is going to be a little more difficult because it's likely you're not going to be able to fit this stencil into the corner. You're going to have to freehand draw it. Try to choose an easy to draw portion from your central design to carry into those four corners. You can see I'm using that petal design and just a couple of basic loops. When you see the completed mandala, you'll notice that I also connected the four corners with just simple white lines. I just felt it needed something to bring all four corners of the design together, something to sort of frame that central design. Here's a closer look at the finished project. You can see that I had a little bit of bubbling with the paper mache. I probably could have avoided that by going a little slower and waiting a little longer in between the layers of paper mache while they were drying. I could have also gone back with an X-Acto knife and tried to cut things down and re-flatten them with a little bit more of the paste mixture. Overall, I'm okay with the finished design. It sort of has a rustic feel. It kind of reminds me of a large clay rectangular dish. I do want to emphasize again that this is a decorative tray. I don't know that it would hold up with the weight of trying to serve something to people on it. It's just going to sit on my coffee table, and because it's paper and cardboard, I'm not going to be placing any lit candles or anything like that on it. Just use your discretion. It's purely decorative. It works great for keeping our remote controls in order on our coffee table. I'm actually now thinking about some type of bowl or other item that I can place in it to further make my coffee table look interesting. Don't forget to stop by Bara Bourne's YouTube channel to see her wonderful project. If you want a closer look at my paper mache tray, you can check it out at myscrapbookevolution.com. The links for both of these can be found in the notes for this video.